Hello, good morning. I'm here today at the British School of Bahrain. My name is Charlie Cooksey with Education BH, powered by Gulf Insider Media. Joined today with John Maguire, who is the Executive Headmaster of the BSB. John, how are you today? Great to have you.
Very well. Thank you very much for having me.
Great. So we'll jump straight into it. First question. The BSB is all about community. Can you tell us more about this?
Community is very important to us. We see ourselves as being the British School in Bahrain, as well as being the British School of Bahrain, and that's integral to our ethos in terms of not only our staff, but the way the students interact with each other and the way that we interact within our wider community. Our ethos is very much about being a successful school at the heart of the local community.
Extracurricular activities are just as important as academics. How can we make these effective learning opportunities for children?
Within Inspired, which is the company that we're part of all around the world, we have three pillars. One is academics, one is the creative arts, the extracurricular, and one is sport. Each are given equal weight here at BSB, as within all our schools. For me, it's about that key part of our ethos, which is individuality. And you often see that a student will grow in their individuality if they find their niche within a school. And a lot of students, that niche can be in the extracurricular. So it can be within sport, it can be within the creative arts, it can be within all manner of things. Once a student has found that niche, they grow in confidence. And that confidence can actually relate back to their academics. And we see that the whole student then develops all around. And that's really our ethos and why the extracurricular is so important to us.
How much do parents need to be involved with their child's learning, and how do you attain that balance?
Parents are integral to the success of any child, and we consider them a key part of our school. The triangle between the school, the child and the parents. Gone are the days in education where parents just drop off at the door and forget about it. You know, modern parents are very aware of what outstanding education looks like, and they want to be part of that throughout. So for us, it's about keeping those parents informed, keeping them reassured that their child is making progress, early interventions where needed, and supporting them in their home. And I think certainly post the current global pandemic, we're going to see a much greater involvement of parents. They spent the last 3 months actually sitting in and observing classes, and observing assemblies. They've been a crucial and important part of our success, and I think we'll certainly be seeing that carrying forward in the future.
For sure. How different is the education landscape in Bahrain compared to the UK, and what changes can be adopted from the UK that you bring to Bahrain?
So there's a lot of things that I think Bahrain is incredibly strong with. Certainly the international nature of private schools and education within the island is a real strength, and something we don't see within the UK. So learning from the American system, learning from the Canadian system, and that cross-fertilization is really at the core of Bahrain's education sector. I think that's certainly one of the strengths that we don't see in the UK. I would say that the accessibility of the Ministry of Education is a real strength of Bahrain, and certainly something that we don't see in the UK. I would also say that the inspection system out here, run by the Bahrain Quality Authority, is cutting edge. It's very modern, it's very rigorous, it's a challenge, and that's only going to be a good thing for all schools out here. What can they learn? What can Bahrain learn from the UK? I think as the private sector grows within the country, and it certainly is, recognising that model and understanding private schools, how they operate, and also their value. They don't just have a value, well, an outstanding private school doesn't just have a value within the school or to its immediate community. They have a value to the entire region and the entire area. They attract some of the best teachers, they attract some of the most innovative pedagogy is developed there, and collaboration between the schools will only be a good thing across education widely within the region.
How do you see the trend in education changing post this whole coronavirus situation?
For me, I see there being three changes. The first in change to teachers and their pedagogy, the way they teach. And for us, it's been about adopting technology, not fearing it, embracing it, and seeing some superb developments in that regard. I think the second way we'll see change is the way that students learn. This last 3 months has certainly seen a growth in independence in their learning. They've had to motivate themselves, they've had to actually direct their own learning. And I think we will certainly try and make that continue. And I think the third way we'll see it is that parental involvement, the parental engagement, that they're definitely going to want to be, they won't want to go back to the old way of being slightly kept at arm's length, and keeping them within that loop of their child's education will be important. They've spent the last 16 weeks watching assemblies and celebrating alongside their child everything that's going on in the school, and it will be important to keep that going and make them feel part of the school community moving forward.
Has the BSB undertaken any coronavirus initiatives or extended any support to the parents?
Yes, certainly. I think for us, academics, maintaining education. It's been, for a lot of families, it's been a state of flux, and actually we've been the consistent anchor point, maintaining right from when campuses were first shut. We delivered an online learning platform immediately, and I think that consistency has been reassuring to parents, gives them some stability. That's one thing that's been remaining constant within their families' lives. For a lot of our parents, they've certainly been hit financially by economic downturns, and we've certainly had to support parents in providing financial assistance or repayment plans to ensure that their education of their children can continue. And also, I think we've seen a much greater growth in personal support, actually being the sounding board for sometimes some very delicate conversations from the parent about what's going on in their lives or their family's lives. And actually our school counsellors have been there to support parents individually, and a lot of our parents have actually felt the need to reach out to the school counsellor to talk through, particularly at a time of isolation when those networks that they would normally have haven't always been present, and they've reached out to the school. And I think that's the sign of an outstanding international school, if you are at the hub of the community, that you're not just there for the student, you're there for the parents as well.
And how has the response been from the students when it comes to the online learning that you're providing?
The students have absolutely thrived within online learning. They've loved it. They naturally take to technology a lot quicker than some of the adults, and our online learning was built entirely around technology. We use a huge amount of real-time teaching, so using various platforms to deliver that same experience that they had within the classroom. They've also loved the freedom to experiment. They've actually been a highlight to us. They've made us laugh, they've been grateful, they've sent message of thanks entirely unprompted, and actually sometimes at a tough moment or a tough decision needs to be made, and actually a message coming back from the students saying how much they appreciate to their member of staff, or a funny video they've made, or a demonstration of some of their work, and that's been crucial. So for a lot of them, they've absolutely thrived within online learning. I think it does depend on age as well. Particularly the older students have found that move to independent learning and self-directed learning quite straightforward, and a lot of our teaching within our curriculum has been inquiry based already, so it was just in a different location. The younger years have certainly found it more challenging, and that's certainly put a greater load on the parents, which we've been enormously grateful, and they've required very delicate and very deliberate structures to our lessons and our learning, which allow them to access and still make the same progress. So it does really depend on age, which is as expected. Every school around the world has found that. But overall, they've certainly thrived, and we love seeing them. We do miss their faces, we do miss them in person. I wouldn't want it to continue much longer, and we're certainly looking forward to September.
And what message do you have for students and parents that are considering the BSB for future education?
The school is stronger than ever. We've certainly developed considerably, and I think we're in a better place and developing continuously over the last 6 months, as all outstanding schools are. And I think we are certainly open to new enrolments, and pleasingly we're seeing a lot of interest from parents right the way through from nursery all the way through to year 13, from both families within Bahrain, but also considerable interest from expat families, particularly from the UK. And so enrolments are high. We're having to begin to establish waiting lists in a lot of year groups. So it's certainly a strong time for us. We feel that this has been, as with all people, this has been a challenging time all around the world, but we've certainly risen to that challenge and developed considerably within our time. And therefore I think that we feel that when we return in September, the school will be much stronger. We'll certainly be embedding technology much better. We'll certainly be engaging parents in a different way. And we actually feel that the cohorts coming through are going to continue to go to some of the best universities and careers in the world. And we feel that we're in a position to open those doors.
So coming on to my last question, just I guess a bit more of a personal question. Tell us a bit more about you, John, your background in education, just so the people that are watching know a bit about your background in the world of education.
Sure. So certainly I arrived, this is my first year at BSB. My first time actually at an international school, although for several years I've inspected internationally in the Middle East and in Southeast Asia, so feel like I actually know a bit about international, but first time to Bahrain. My wife and 2 children are loving the country, enormously welcomed by everybody we meet. It's certainly we certainly, well, when it was open, we loved the community, and all the messages we're receiving have been wonderful, and we definitely feel we've made the right decision as a family. My educational background was, before this, I was at a large school in North London, which was voted the #1 school in the UK in 2017, and combined all the elements that I see within BSB, that academic rigour, but also the importance of extracurricular, creative arts, and very much a pastoral ethos within that. And that was what I could see in BSB, and felt that I aligned myself to BSB. Overall, I've been teaching for 25 years, in schools from 3 to 18, boarding and day, and co-education, and all boys, so a real mix. And this is really the next step, and hope to be here for quite some time.
Well, John, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us today. It's been great talking to you and learning about the school. Thank you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for coming. I hope to welcome you back to BSB when we're open again in September.
Let's hope so. And thank you, everybody that's watching.